Hello ladies and welcome to our channel. He who knows others is wise, he who knows himself is enlightened. Lao Tzu. In the labyrinth of childhood where most seek the comfort of acceptance and belonging, the Sigma female walks a solitary path, her thoughts painting a canvas of resilience, independence, and quiet rebellion. From the very beginning she is shaped by struggles that others never see, battles fought in silence, and victories that remain uncelebrated. The world may try to mold her into conformity, but she resists, her spirit forged in the fires of solitude and self-reliance. This is not the story of a broken childhood, but of one that chisels away the excess, leaving only the raw, unyielding core of who she is destined to become. Stay with me as we delve into the untold struggles that shape every Sigma female, revealing the unseen forces that craft her into a formidable force in a world that often fails to understand her. Number 1. Silent resilience. Growing up as a Sigma female means carrying a quiet strength that often goes unnoticed. While other children are vocal about their struggles, she learns early on that her battles are hers to face alone. It's not that she doesn't want help, but she quickly realizes that most people won't understand her depth or the complexity of what she's dealing with. So she builds a mental fortress, brick by brick, every challenge making her stronger, but also more isolated. She becomes the calm in her own storm, navigating turbulent emotions without letting anyone see the turmoil beneath her composed exterior. This silent resilience isn't something she flaunts. In fact, it's what keeps her from standing out. But within, it's a constant push and pull, an internal dialogue that she has with herself, questioning, doubting, yet ultimately pushing through. The world might see her as self-sufficient or even cold, but it's this very independence that she's been forced to cultivate from such a young age. Every setback becomes a lesson, every emotional wound a scar that hardens her resolve. This isn't a child who seeks pity, it's one who learns to wear her struggles like armor, not because she wants to, but because she has to. Number 2. Emotional self-reliance. From an early age, a Sigma female learns that the only person she can truly rely on is herself. It's not that she doesn't crave support or understanding, she does deeply, but life has shown her that depending on others often leads to disappointment. When she needed comfort, there was no one there who could really grasp what she was going through. Instead of being lifted up, she often found herself pushed aside, her emotions dismissed or misunderstood. So she stops looking outward for help and turns inward, building a reservoir of emotional strength that others rarely see. This self-reliance isn't born out of pride, but necessity. She teaches herself how to cope with pain, how to soothe her own wounds, and how to find solutions when no one else can or will. It's a lonely road, but it forges a powerful independence. She becomes her own counselor, her own motivator, and her own protector. Every challenge she faces alone reinforces this idea. She doesn't need anyone else to get through life, but this independence comes at a cost. While it makes her resilient, it also creates a barrier between her and the world. She's so used to handling everything on her own that even when someone genuinely wants to help, she struggles to let them in. Over time, this emotional self-reliance can make her seem distant or unapproachable. People might think she's cold or indifferent, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Beneath that strong exterior is someone who has simply learned to survive by keeping her vulnerabilities hidden, because showing them hasn't served her well in the past. She's learned to be her own anchor in a world that often feels unpredictable and unreliable. And while this gives her a sense of control over her life, it also means she's walking through it largely alone, carrying burdens that no one else sees. Number 3. Constant overthinking. For a Sigma female, overthinking isn't just a habit, it's a way of life that starts in childhood. While other kids are carefree, she's caught up in a whirlwind of thoughts, analyzing everything down to the smallest detail. Simple questions spiral into deep existential ones. What is the purpose of life? Why do people behave the way they do? These aren't the musings of most children, but for her, they're a constant hum in the background of her mind. This intense thinking sets her apart early on. She doesn't see the world through the same lens as her peers. Where others might take things at face value, she's already several layers deep, trying to understand the underlying reasons behind every action and word. It's not that she chooses to be this way. Her mind just naturally operates at a different frequency. But this level of introspection can be isolating. While others are chatting about the latest trends or playground gossip, she's wrestling with questions that most people don't consider until much later in life, if ever. This constant mental activity can be exhausting. She's always questioning, always doubting, always trying to make sense of the world around her. It's as if her brain is wired to never turn off, even when she desperately wants it to. This can lead to sleepless nights, as her mind races through every possible scenario, every what-if. And because she's so deep in her thoughts, it can be hard for her to connect with others who don't share the same intensity. She's often left feeling like an outsider, not because she wants to be, but because her mind simply won't let her be anything else. But this overthinking isn't without its benefits. It makes her incredibly perceptive, able to pick up on details that others miss. She can see the big picture and the tiny nuances within it, understanding the world in a way that's uniquely her own. Yet this gift is also a curse, as it often leaves her feeling overwhelmed and isolated. While others are living in the moment, she's stuck in her head, navigating a maze of thoughts that never seem to end. Number 4, misunderstood sensitivity. A Sigma female's sensitivity is both her superpower and her silent struggle. From a young age, she feels things more deeply than others, but this heightened sensitivity is often misunderstood. To the outside world, it can seem like she's overreacting or being too emotional, when in reality she's simply tuned into a frequency that most people can't hear. This misinterpretation forces her to keep her emotions under wraps, bottling up her feelings rather than expressing them openly. She learns that showing vulnerability invites misunderstanding, so she wears a mask of composure, even when she's feeling the weight of the world. This internal conflict creates a push and pull within her. On one hand, her sensitivity allows her to connect with people on a profound level, seeing into their hearts in ways others can't. She picks up on subtle shifts in mood, notices the things left unsaid, and feels the energy in a room as if it were her own. But on the other hand, this same sensitivity makes her hyper-aware of how she's perceived. She knows that if she reveals too much, she risks being labeled as weak or too fragile for the world's harsh realities. So she builds an emotional armor, not because she wants to hide, but because she feels she has to in order to protect herself. Over time, this suppression of emotions can take a toll. She becomes adept at hiding her true feelings, even from those closest to her. This creates a lonely existence where she's constantly balancing the need to protect her heart with the desire to be understood. She yearns for someone who sees beyond the mask, someone who recognizes that her sensitivity is not a flaw, but a testament to her depth and empathy. But finding that understanding is rare, so she continues to navigate life with her emotions tightly controlled, even as they simmer beneath the surface. This misunderstood sensitivity is what makes her unique, but it's also what sets her apart. While others might see it as a weakness, it's actually the source of her strength. It allows her to navigate the complexities of life with a profound awareness, even if it means carrying the burden of her emotions alone. She's not just surviving, she's thriving in a world that often doesn't appreciate the depth of her feelings, all while maintaining an exterior that gives little away. It's a delicate dance of strength and sensitivity, and she's mastered it out of necessity, even if it means sometimes feeling like she's the only one who truly understands herself. Number 5, navigating loneliness. As a Sigma female grows up, one of the hardest lessons she learns is that the world isn't always fair. While other kids might be shielded from harsh realities, she seems to confront them head-on, often before she's ready. Whether it's witnessing favoritism, experiencing betrayal, or dealing with people who don't play by the rules, she quickly realizes that life isn't always just, and merit doesn't always win out. This early disillusionment forces her to mature faster than her peers, developing a keen awareness of the world's imperfections. But instead of becoming jaded, she internalizes these experiences, using them to fuel her determination. She learns that fairness isn't something you can count on, so she stops expecting it. Instead, she focuses on what she can control: her own actions, her own choices, and her own path. This mindset gives her a kind of quiet power. She's not naive. She doesn't get easily rattled when things don't go as they should. Instead, she pivots, adjusts her strategy, and keeps moving forward, all the while refusing to let the unfairness of the world dictate her destiny. This realization also makes her fiercely independent. She knows that waiting for the world to treat her fairly is a waste of time, so she takes matters into her own hands. If she wants something, she'll work for it, but she's under no illusions that hard work will always pay off in the way it should. This pragmatism might make her seem aloof or distant to others, but it's simply her way of protecting herself from the disappointment she's seen too many times. She's learned that life's unfairness isn't personal, it's just the way things are. Yet, even with this understanding, the unfairness she witnesses doesn't harden her. Instead, it sharpens her sense of justice and deepens her empathy for those who suffer similar fates. She becomes someone who fights for fairness in her own way, whether by standing up for others, speaking out against injustice, or simply refusing to play the games that others do. Her experiences teach her to be strong, not just for herself, but for those who don't have the same resilience. And while the world's unfairness might have shaped her, it never breaks her spirit. It only makes her more determined to rise above it on her own terms. Number 6. Early responsibility. Growing up, a Sigma female often feels like she doesn't quite fit in. While other kids are busy forming cliques and following trends, she finds herself on the outside, observing rather than participating. It's not that she doesn't want to belong, everyone craves connection, but she's wired differently. Her interests, thoughts, and even her way of interacting with the world don't align with the crowd. This feeling of being different isn't just in her head, it's a reality she faces every day. The things that excite others often leave her indifferent, and the conversations that seem to fuel her peers can feel painfully shallow to her. As a child, this can be confusing and even painful. She might wonder why she doesn't click with others or why she feels more comfortable alone than in a group. But over time, she starts to realize that her differences aren't flaws, they're what make her unique. Instead of forcing herself to fit into molds that don't suit her, she begins to embrace her individuality. She discovers that her solitude isn't loneliness. It's where she feels most herself, where she can think deeply and explore ideas that truly interest her. This self-acceptance doesn't come easily, though. It's a process of trial and error, of learning to be comfortable with standing apart. She has to overcome the societal pressure to conform, to be like everyone else, and instead, she learns to value her own company. The friends she does make are few but genuine, drawn to her authenticity rather than her ability to blend in. She finds strength in her ability to stand alone, realizing that it's better to be true to herself than to lose herself in a crowd. By embracing her differences, she doesn't just survive her childhood feeling of not fitting in, she thrives because of it. She becomes someone who is comfortable in her own skin, who knows that being different is not something to be ashamed of, but something to celebrate. This realization sets her on a path of self-discovery that many don't embark on until much later in life, if ever. Her ability to stand apart, to be her own person in a world that often demands conformity, becomes one of her greatest strengths. She learns that fitting in is overrated and that true belonging comes from within, from embracing who she is without apology. Number 7. Battle against conformity. One of the defining traits of a Sigma female is her relentless independence. From a young age, she discovers that she's wired to do things on her own, even when help is offered. It's not that she doesn't appreciate support or love from others. It's just that she feels most at peace when she's navigating life on her own terms. This fierce sense of autonomy starts early, with her choosing to solve problems herself rather than relying on others. She learns that she can trust her own instincts, and that her ability to figure things out without external input is both empowering and satisfying. This independence often sets her apart, as she doesn't seek out validation or approval the way others might. While other kids may look to their peers or parents for reassurance, she looks inward, relying on her own judgment to guide her. This self-reliance becomes a cornerstone of her identity, shaping how she interacts with the world. She doesn't wait for permission or consensus. She acts according to what she believes is right for her, even if that means going against the grain. However, this independence isn't always easy. It can be isolating, especially when she's young and still figuring out who she is. There are moments when she wishes she could be more like everyone else, more willing to lean on others and follow the crowd. But deep down, she knows that's not who she is. Her independence is a double-edged sword. While it gives her the strength to forge her own path, it also sets her apart, making it hard to connect with those who don't understand her need for autonomy. As she grows, she learns to embrace this independence more fully. She realizes that while it may make her journey lonelier at times, it also gives her a kind of freedom that others rarely experience. She's not bound by other people's expectations or limitations. She's free to explore, to make mistakes, to succeed or fail on her own terms. This freedom becomes her greatest asset, allowing her to live a life that's authentically hers. In a world that often pressures people to conform, her independence is a rebellion, a declaration that she will live life her way, no matter what. It's this unwavering commitment to herself that makes her not just different, but extraordinary. Number 8. High expectations. Navigating relationships can be particularly challenging for a Sigma female, who often grapples with an internal conflict between her desire for deep connection and her need for personal space. This duality stems from her intrinsic nature. She craves genuine, meaningful interactions, but also values her independence and solitude. This dichotomy often leaves her in a delicate balance where she's constantly weighing the benefits of close relationships against the potential intrusions on her autonomy. In relationships, she brings an intense focus and authenticity that is rare. When she commits to someone, she does so wholeheartedly, offering deep understanding and unwavering support. Yet, her need for independence means she also requires substantial alone time to recharge and maintain her sense of self. This can be confusing to others who may struggle to understand why she can seem distant or detached at times. To her, this space is essential, not a sign of disinterest or detachment, but a necessary part of maintaining her personal equilibrium. This internal conflict can make relationships both fulfilling and fraught with tension. She seeks to build connections that are as profound as her introspective thoughts, but the nature of her independence often causes friction. Others might view her need for space as a lack of commitment, but in reality, it's a reflection of her deep-seated need to preserve her individuality. She must navigate these relationships with care, balancing her emotional investment with her need to retreat and reflect. Her ability to forge meaningful relationships while maintaining her autonomy requires an extraordinary level of self-awareness and communication. She has to articulate her needs clearly and often set boundaries to ensure that both she and her partners understand and respect her unique requirements. This can be a tightrope walk, one wrong step, and it might feel like she's jeopardizing the very connection she values so deeply. In exploring the childhood struggles of Sigma females, we've uncovered the depth and resilience that shape their unique perspectives on life. These experiences, marked by a profound sense of independence, self-reliance, and a relentless search for authenticity, forge a path that is as challenging as it is exceptional. They navigate a world that often misunderstands their need for solitude and their intricate emotional landscape, yet they emerge with a strength and clarity that is truly remarkable. Their journey is a testament to the power of embracing one's true self amidst adversity. Thank you for joining us on this insightful exploration. If you found this as intriguing as we did, don't forget to subscribe and continue discovering the extraordinary with us. If you enjoyed diving into the complexities of a Sigma female's world, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join us for more deep dives into the intricacies of extraordinary personalities and uncover the insights that make each topic unique. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of a community that values depth and authenticity. Subscribe now and stay tuned for more compelling content.